Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. I am starting to like these. It's different, something to get used to, but it's a way we can stay in contact, and I like that. So let's get started, and this is going to be a bit different. I did send out a notice, whoever else is contacting, but last night I sent out a notice on TKM Talk. It's not on the general database, but that we're going to lean towards TKM, you might say, I'm thinking in my mind, study group type things. So I wanted to give you, I thank you for your emails. I wanted to give you a little update here on some neat things that are happening. So this is an email from Chelsea Estrie. It says, my oldest son is getting married at the end of May. They're choosing a tiny wedding because of the pandemic. We have to be pretty creative, right? We live in a small 29-acre farm in Abilene, and my son wants to live out here with us with his new wife. Because of the quarantine, my husband works from home. My son-in-law was laid off from work. My youngest son, 18, is homeschooled, and all are able to help my son transform our crazy old house barn into a new home. That's awesome. It would not have been possible to do it in time if everyone was busy working their regular jobs all day away from home. On top of that, my youngest daughter and her husband also wants to live out here. This is awesome. They've been married 9 months. My daughter still has her job. He wanted to build a home for them, but did not really have the time because of his job. So now, because of all the current events, all of my family is able to help with building these 2 new homes on their property together. It has brought our family even closer together. I feel so blessed. We get to spend so much time fellowshipping, sharing meals, and working together towards these goals. I think that's wonderful. I think there's lots of great, wonderful things that are going to come out of this. And you know, what you're doing here and on these acres, and that's one of my dreams as well. Right now it's still just a dream. There's some other emails, heart problems, asthma attacks, overcoming fevers and sickness and stopped ear pain and other projects. So they're thanking and for sharing the techniques and different things that are going on. Some wonderful stuff. So thank you for these emails coming in. So I want to talk about TKM and maybe what be on some people's mind, what's called the immune recipes. So I don't do much of that, but in the textbooks, especially for those who have them, and I'm going to explain it if you don't, but in the textbooks on page 156, there is this list of 10 different things called an immune recipe, because there's a lot of applications in each and every book. So people are always asking, because a lot of things will say some correlation to immune or could be construed that way. And bottom line, everything is going to help the immune system in one way or another. But these are called priorities. These are the big guys. These are the top 10. So I want to narrow this down, especially for the current situation. So we're going to teach about TKM, and we're going to couple in a perspective of what the current need is for many people. So it lists 10 of them, and I've got them listed out here that I hope you can read that well. So we got third mock, and I didn't put sequence at the end of one of these. So these are all sequences. So third mock, and you know that's short for method of correction. And then we have spleen, that's sequence, 15 sequence, 3 sequence, 23, 25 sequence, 13, and then the R&R fourth stratum sequence. Then we have kidney, liver, and trinity. Those are all sequences. Does that mean you do all of these when you have any kind of immune situation? No, no, this can be customized in a lot of different ways, and that's part of what I want to explain. So just briefly, let me touch on some others for their purpose generally, and then get down to the purpose for today. So why third mock? Why is it here? Because third mock stops the progression of any dysfunction and disharmony, especially if it's applied 10 times consecutive. Now, consecutive doesn't mean one after another in one sitting. That would take you all day, if not more. But it means if you work on yourself once a day, that once a day you would be doing that application. If you work on yourself twice a day, then twice a day you'd be doing that application. So that each time, or you're working on someone, because all this is designed for working on another person. But for what we're going to get down to, I'm also going to show you some ways that you can do this for yourself, and then other ways that you can do part of this that's more thorough than what you find in the books. So we got a bit to talk about. So after 10 times that you're doing this in a row, and whatever that timing is, then it would back off to like maybe once a week. And that helps turn the ship of how everything is going array with incoherence, with the usually crazy mixed up textures and everything else, so that we can get it back towards being on track. So that serves a vital purpose, especially for very chronic situations. Not for, it really doesn't apply to any acute situation that has not been acute because of a chronic situation that led up to acute. It's just you don't have it, and all of a sudden, boom, we have this immediate issue. Then that one doesn't really apply. The spleen, a short, simple sequence because it revitalizes all energy, and yes, it does have to do with the immune system. You could interchange this for central nervous system sequence. And let me tell you, so many ways that when you enhance the central nervous system, and what is the core of that? The core of that is your brain. So biologically, your brain is connected into every system, every organ, gland, and function in your entire body. And when it is functioning right, then everything else can function right. So does that have any impact on your immune? Duh, absolutely it does. So when you enhance how your brain works in your central nervous system, you're going to enhance how your blood, your lymph, your organs. Is it important to have your spleen working well, your kidney working well, your liver working well, your other organs and glands? What about your cardiovascular system? Yes. Your immune system, your white blood cells. There's an aspect that needs proper communication, and biologically that's done via your central nervous system. So yes, that one's very important, aside for helping energy level and strengthen pulses. Then there's a 15 sequence. Very important because it has a direct correlation to a 3, and I'll get to that. 23, 25, very, very important because primarily of the 23. The 23 sits there in the back on top of your kidneys and deals with your adrenals, and we see kidney listed here already, so we know that's important. And if we were to talk about this and go over and look at the 23, which that's not the main focus today, surprisingly, because it is one of the top of the list, even of this list, for your immune. So it helps chemistry, it helps the energy related, it helps so many things. It does help your cardiovascular in relation to chemistry, in relation to your white blood cells, to pick those up and be very, very strong. So maybe we'll do another one just on the 23 because it deserves so much time in itself. But that's not the main focus today. And then there's a 13. 13 is another one of the top ones at the list. Now you've also, if you've gone through these books, you've seen that there's different sections as well. There's cleaning up sections and there's building sections. So part of that has to do with what we call blueprint. Blueprint deals with energy sphere numbers. And then the building is actually dealing with organ energy and things like that, like spleen, kidney, liver. And spleen, kidney, liver are 3 that are vital for your immune system. But let's keep going. This is very, very important, and it's not a left and right sequence, it's one combined, and I'm going to talk about that a little more later. And then there's R&R fourth stratum, because R&R fourth stratum means reversing and redirecting of, and you could call it revitalizing as well, and redirecting of fourth stratum energy. Pathways, correlations, like the 23 is in fourth stratum. The kidney is also in fourth stratum. See how that keeps coming up? And the bladder is in fourth stratum, and it deals with all of its correlations related to the immune. You'll find that kidney is almost always responsible for lung and breathing projects. So you don't see lung here, but here's one of the priority ones. For instance, there was another email that I saw that came through answering somebody on TKM Talk talking about how much kidney was a primary thing that they worked on to resolve their issues with breathing. So kidney, as you've heard me refer to several times, so why do I need to elaborate on that more? It's very, very important. Liver. Liver is basically what cleans up your cardiovascular system. It's the nicknamed in TKM, the organ that's the janitor of the body. So this is very, very important to help your cardiovascular and your lymphatic system to clean up everything, which is usually what preoccupies your immune system from being able to do its job properly or effective enough. Because when it's really working properly, you don't have to worry about how fast and quick you recover from something. You don't get it. You can be around a family that's sick and they're all getting sick and you can take care of them, but you don't get it because your system is working properly. And then there's Trinity. Trinity means it's a combination of the median, the supervisors, and the mediator to help those first three pathways and their functions and their correlations. And understand that the median doesn't have energy spheres on it, but it is the median level of energy spheres. Like 13, when you're doing the median sequence and you're here, you're at center of the 20s, and you're at center of 21s, and you're at center of 22s, center of 13s, center of 14s. So it's the center of these energy spheres to help keep a balance. Then there's the supervisor. That's 23 of the 26 energy spheres. And then from that you have the mediator, the third aspect of the Trinity. And there's 3 energy spheres on that. So that covers all 26 energy spheres in helping those. Very, very important. A very long sequence, the longest one of all of them. This is not what I would call for an immediate situation. Although, let me state one other thing. The total focus of this long sequence and its help and benefit directly for median, supervisor, and mediator all is focused on helping energy sphere number 3. That's important to understand and get. So remember that part. And then we're going to go talk about some other things. So, in this, priorities that I would say in relation to COVID-19 or a virus or the flu or a fever or any conditions that you're going along, you're living your life, and all of a sudden, boom, something hits you and you need to recover now, quick. It's not a chronic situation, it's something that hits you. And one of the things for COVID that's popular is that it has a tendency, whether it is incubating in you for a couple or several days or up to 2 weeks, when it does hit with signs and symptoms, typically the first thing you'll start feeling is your body temperature is not the same. It feels colder in the room. And oftentimes it can be as quick as whether it was that night or in the morning that you feel that. Before the night is over or the day is over, boom, you're going to get weak, could get shaky, it's going to get a lot colder, and then you're going to go into fever. And typically by the next day, it's knocked you off your feet. So it hits pretty classic like a flu does, but it doesn't creep up on you. Like, well, I've been feeling this way for a few days, a little stuffy, a little this, that, and the other. No, it comes up and bam, punches you, often knocks you off your feet. And if you're healthy, it will usually run its course in maybe 4 days. If you're not as healthy, it may take a week. And then there's what you're hearing in the news and everything else, people with pre-existing issues and health issues and very compromised system, that they can remain sick for a week, 2, 3 weeks, and sometimes do not survive. That's what I want to get into after all this is said and done and it's over and everybody's back to work, is we need to change our state of health. We need to be better stewards. And so that's why I want to start curving over and focusing on these things versus the other things that I've been talking about a lot, which are not going to help your system from the core and change your life. Those are temporary things and band-aid things that you can use those. It's okay, and it will help knock it out. There's things that I've talked about that will knock it out immediately, okay? Like when I had it back in January, and my family had it, and I didn't recognize what it was at the time, except for the worst type of virus that I have ever experienced in my life and related to my lungs and breathing. And when I realized that, hey, this thing's going to take me down and I'm going to be laid out for a while, I took some stuff, because bottom line is we all have a busy life, right? So you would think that I have somebody or people working on me all day, every day, that I have the opportunity to stop for a while. Well, no, that's not true. So you don't do the most effective work by working on yourself, because yes, I can work on myself, but that is not the most effective work. But it is what you do when you don't have the other choice. So I did take something, and I'd mentioned that before, and it knocked it out. Within 24 hours, boom, gone. So it is an easy one to kill. So this brings me, for those type of situations, to the top of the list, and that's the 3, okay? Now, the 3, if you'll look on page 66 in your book, it's basically 66 and 67. 66 is the number 3 sequence. And in getting to this, it's the first place that has the little boxes that has little notes, and it's got 2 of them. So one of the boxes at the top says, for this sequence, each finger listed may be held one at a time or held all together as one step. One at a time is more thorough. So that's applying the sequence exactly like it is in the book. Exactly like it is in the book. So it talks about index and middle of back side of the fingers, and then ring and little palm side of the fingers. And then further down on the 5th step, then you're holding index, middle, ring, and little fingers palm side. So you can lay it across. You could brace it with your thumb if you want. However you want to do it, as long as you're contacting, and preferably the different sections. So if you've had any of the TKM classes, you know the importance of helping all 3 sections, meaning contacting all 3 sections. So you know how the sequence works. Now there's the other box. At the bottom of that, it says vital, and underline, it says always, with an asterisk. Release the energy sphere 15 first. This is the only sequence in not only this book, but in any books of TKM that has a prerequisite. And that's what it's telling you. This note applies to this sequence only. Release means apply the entire 15 sequence. So what does release mean? I might say release, open, help, whatever I say. But it means to apply the entire sequence on the same side of the body that you're going to apply the 3. So 15 helps same side 3. If applying left and right 3 sequence, then apply left and right 15 first. If the situation is minor, means if it's not that big a deal, then you could just do the anchor step of the 15. What is that? Holding 15. So holding 15, that's in the groin, right on the outside of the pubic bone, and right in the arch of the foot is the 6. You know where the locations are. So you hold 15 and 6, and then you would go to work on the 3. Or if you're going to do left and right, you would hold 15 and 6 left, and then you'd hold 15 and 6 right, and then you'd work on 3s. Now, for the topic of this, while we're talking about this, is help for the immune system, and something like, let's give the example, somebody got hit hard with COVID-19, and their system is not so great, and they're of higher risk, whether they're very young, or they're older, or they're any age, but their immune system is not tip-top. Then you want to apply the entire left 15 sequence and right 15 sequence, and if there's 2 of you, apply that bilaterally at the same time. So left and right 15 sequence, and then after that, if there's 2 of you, apply a bilateral 3 sequence, just like it says on page 66. Then I'm going to give you extras. If there's only one of you, then apply the left side and then the right side. Now, what if you're alone? What we do is we cover this. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask you, please email me. And I'm considering, because of some requests that have come in, H2O. It's great now, it's great always. Being, if you're quarantined, then be sure you keep drinking your water and stay physically active. All right, so let's go back to what if we're doing this and it's only yourself? Well, you can't do an entire 15 sequence on yourself. So you can do the first few steps on yourself, left and then right side. So in that scenario, you want to hold the anchor step, that means the first step, holding 15 and same side 6, much longer. So we say, what is the average? We're always looking for pulses, that they're the same intensity, they're in sync, the same rate, and the texture that you feel is the fluff with tone. So those that know that, great. If you know what to do and you feel that, once you get it, hold it a little longer than normal. If you don't have that down and you've been normally spending about 5 minutes per step, then you want to do 10, 15, or 20 minutes to really drill this in. Because here's the deal. If you have such a need, like COVID-19, for an example, then you're going to be needing help and everything else gets put on the side. So go ahead and apply proper, thorough help. Otherwise, you're going to end up needing to reapply this and reapply this and reapply this much more often than going through and applying it very thorough in the beginning. So apply those steps, anchor step more, and then add more. You could do 10 minutes per step on the other couple of ones that you can do. And then what you do, let me explain this because it's not in your book. You would be looping fingers. So let's say you're doing left 3 first. So this is my left. So I'd place my right hand on my left 3 and I would loop the fingers. What is looping? Looping is when you're connecting the nail to the pad. You're not adding pressure, you're just lightly, gently contacting. And you go from one to the other. So if you want to do that more thorough, what you do is pad to pad and hold that for a step, let's say 5 minutes, nail to pad to pad, nail to pad to pad, nail to pad to pad, nail to pad. If you're not patient enough, then do 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes. There's your 5 minutes. 2.5, 2.5. But don't get too caught up and stressed out over watching a stopwatch or something like that. When you're done, then what you're doing is you're switching. You put your left hand on that same left 3, and then you repeat that process with your right hand. Pad to pad, nail to pad, with each finger all the way through, waiting for a complete step for each one. Now, you think you're done? Yes, with the left one. What about the right one? Then do the right one. So repeat that same process on the other side. Now I'm holding it again with the opposite hand, and then I do pad to pad, nail to pad on each one of these. This by yourself is very, very thorough. Get comfortable, relaxed. If you fall asleep, wake up, pick up where you left off. And then after you've covered these fingers, then you do just like you did on the other side. Then you're holding same side and you're working the opposite fingers. Pad to pad, nail to pad. This is very, very thorough. I want to show you something else that's not in the books that relates similar to what I just showed you, but there's someone there available to help. Okay? This is very important. Again, you get 15s to function right. Best way is thorough, which means to do the whole sequence. And then you're working 3s. What I suggest is working left side first. And the first thing you're going to do, I'm going to explain it just like I did with the self-help and looping the fingers. So if you're sitting there and you're working on somebody, let me explain it bilaterally. How's that? So you got one person on one side and one person on the other side. Their head is at this end. So since their head's there, I'm on their left side. I'm going to hold their left 3. And then what do? I hold just like I was showing you with the self-help. So it's not different than that, but somebody else is holding it. And then I'm going to hold the entire thumb. You're just holding the entire thumb. So I'm holding the 3 and the entire thumb. After I get through, then I'm holding the entire index finger. My right hand remains on the 3. And then I move to each one, the index, the middle, and the ring. When I'm done with that, then I'm going to go over, still holding that 3, I'm going to go over and hold the other side, thumb, index, middle, ring, little, the entire finger. Not squeezing it, just holding it gently. Then, when I get done with that, I'm going to slide my hand over to hold the right 3. And then I'm going to work same side again. I just got through working all those fingers, but now I'm holding the same side 3. So I'll work thumb, index, middle, ring, little. This is not difficult. Thumb, index, middle, ring, little. You're just going in that order. It's that simple. And you're holding each one. So while I'm explaining this, this gives you plenty of time to write it out. You don't have to keep repeating it like I'm doing. I'm giving you time to write this out. So you're doing the same thing. I'm holding the other side, and I do a thumb around the little finger, and then I work this side again, which is opposite from the 3. And I'm holding thumb around the little finger. That, let's put it this way, if they feel like a Mack truck hit them, they're running very high fever, they're knocked out, they don't want to do anything, they're just laying there suffering, they're not going to be that way when you get through with one application. And if it doesn't completely eliminate the fever, it's going to bring it down extremely low, especially for a situation like this, which may not eliminate it in one application. And if you want it to be even more thorough, here's what you do. You apply the sequence in the book first. Apply the 3 sequence, and after you get done, how do you apply the 3 sequence? You go by what it says in the book. You open the 15s first. So you help left and right 15. You apply the 3 sequence left and right on the body, and then after you apply the 3 sequence like it says in the book, then you apply it like I just described, where you're holding the 3 and same side each finger, and then opposite side each finger. And then you switch to the other 3 and do the same thing. Same side each finger, and then opposite each finger. That's simple. Let me say that again. Same side 3, same side fingers. You know the order. Thumb, index, middle, ring, little. So 3 and same side fingers, and then opposite fingers, and then you switch to the other 3 and do it again. Same side fingers, then opposite fingers. So profound. If that doesn't knock it out, guess what? Apply it again. Apply it again. It's really profound. And yes, this is not theory. I've done this, and I've done this with COVID-19, okay? I would like your questions on this. Anything else you got to say, but let me show you a few things as a reminder of how powerful this is on page 67. We're going through there, and it talks about breathing, but many things in TKM talk about breathing, but this is the only one that says it opens the lungs. Is that needed? Yes. It also is the only one that creates a balance of inhales and exhales. Everything else in TKM either helps inhales or exhales. This is the only one that's helping the entire breathing apparatus of how you function. What is the very next thing listed? Immune system. What does it say in parentheses? Capital, vital for the immune system. And then it has things like viral, a little further down. So all viruses, all flu, common cold. Typically they say there is no cure for the common cold. Well, you haven't done TKM. Even slow viruses. Slow viruses are, let me say this, medically, they don't treat a common cold, they don't treat the flu, they don't treat anything else. Even if you have COVID-19 and you go into the hospital, do they treat the virus? No. They treat symptoms. If you get bad enough, they'll put you on a respirator if they have one. But they don't treat to kill a virus because that's not their mentality That's not their research. That's not the medicines or medications of what they do to treat. They can give you antibiotics and different things which don't kill the virus. They give you steroids, and I've talked about that before, but it's not killing the virus. That actually inhibits your immune system. Let's go further down. Mononucleosis, chronic fatigue, herpes, Epstein-Barr, Lyme's disease, helps the entire lymphatic system. What about HIV positive? Something contagious that's very serious and can be deadly, including AIDS, autoimmune, but third from the bottom, cancer. What does it say under important? Very important as an immune stimulator. It is your body that gears up and is able to kill this. In other words, if a person has a high fever, they get a fever because their immune system is being kicked in, because for every 1 degree of internal body temperature, your immune system increases by 50%. That's huge. So if you have an internal temperature that goes up 4 degrees, which is pretty high, that means your immune system is kicked into gear 200% more. So that is a very positive thing. But also if it goes too high, you can get brain damage, you can even die. So it's trying to work. What you're doing with TKM is you're coming here and you're speeding up that whole process, gearing into communication for the nervous system, your lymphatic system, your cardiovascular system, the chemistry and everything else, because of the energy flow, so that your immune can be maximized, producing more. Your bone marrow and everything is producing them fast and more without taking time to get into more explanation. And it does not suppress a fever whatsoever, but actually will resolve a fever because it's resolved the reason for the fever. That's vital to know. All right, last thing. Third line down under important. The 3 sequence will help what? Any illness, any disorder. If you apply it properly, thorough, and don't treat it like a button or a remote or something. So, well, I pushed it one time. Well, what do you do if you pushed it one time and it doesn't work? Push it again. Push it more thorough. Maybe push it and hold it down. Apply it again. Apply it more thorough. It works, but you have to work it. So I'll be looking for your questions, and the next one we're also going to be talking about TKM. I will come up with something unless you have a suggestion by popular demand. And I hope everybody is enjoying the time with their family and their loved ones. If you happen to be by yourself, then I am sure that you are online and Skyping or FaceTime or whatever source you use to communicate with people, because that's very, very important. We need to stay in contact and know that we're always here for you, and we'll see you soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.